yeah, web design and SEO is what our main focus is, and we help small to medium-sized brands. Um, we like startups, and we've also worked with corporations as well. But that's kind of like what we stick to is the small and medium-sized businesses. But we really like to help those companies get started because we like getting on the ground floor.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, welcome back for another episode of Business Ninjas. I'm here today with Rob Reich. She's the founder of Maverix Design. Rob, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, excited to have you today. So why don't you start and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Rob. I'm the founder of Maverix Design, and so we are a web design and SEO company. We're down here in St. Cloud, Florida, which is right outside of Orlando, but we're serving local, national, and global clients. And so we're just looking to push this forward.
That sounds so interesting. So tell me, how did you first get, interested in the industry?
It started, I'm sure, like every other entrepreneur, school wasn't my thing, and decided to do something for myself. And me and my buddy decided to start a clothing line. I have a background. I worked with Nike for a while in management. So then I finally mustered up enough courage to try to design my own apparel line. And with that comes learning how to build a website, design tools, a lot of things that were self-taught. It was Maverix Threads. So that didn't go too hot. Obviously we were just doing that in our spare time, and we weren't professionals at all. But that let me acquire other skills like building a website and designing and using those tools. And then a lot of my friends and a lot of locals in my area were interested in the website and asking if I could help them out, and kind of started that way, and then doing that on the side for a while. And then my last position for my 9 to 5, the company decided to downscale. So that kind of pushed me into, all right, well, let's try this Maverix Design thing for a while and see what that leads to. So I gave myself 90 days, and that was 2.5 years ago. So still going strong. Yeah.
That's so cool. That's a great story. So that I heard a little bit about website design in there. Tell me a little bit more about Maverix Design and what you do.
So yeah, Maverix Design, I like the name and the brand Maverix. So that stemmed from Maverix Threads, which was apparel, and then Maverix Design, which was strictly for design. And so that's what we're focused on now. So yeah, web design and SEO is what our main focus is, and we help small to medium-sized brands. We like startups, and we've also worked with corporations as well, but that's kind of like what we stick to is the small and medium-sized businesses. But we really like to help those companies get started because we like getting on the ground floor. And we like being in that room as far as generating different ideas and helping them get a great start. Because a lot of people think that website's kind of the hardest part as far as starting a business and how are people going to find us, things like that. So I like to help them out in that register.
That's fantastic. And do you find that a lot of your clients start working with Maverix Design as they're kind of, like you said, kind of getting their feet under them? Or do you do a lot of website kind of rehauls as well?
Yeah, so we've done it all. So we've done completely from scratch. And I always tell a story how I've built a website from somebody on Instagram. I haven't even heard their voice or anything, but so I built a website from Instagram messages all the way up to sitting at round tables for corporations. So it's pretty, as far as I know, everybody says pick a niche, but I haven't done that yet. Like I said, I'll help everybody from the guy at the corner of the local shop to a national brand. So I haven't really found a sweet spot as far as who we like to stick to, but those are the wide range of clients that we stick with.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. So, you mentioned kind of your history being self-taught, essentially working your way up now to, founding Maverix Design. What would you say are some of the differentiating factors that really differentiate, Maverix Design from its competition?
I think being from St. Cloud, it's a very small town in Florida, and well, not so much anymore, but I guess being authentic and just being a genuine good dude, I think that kind of helps build the foundation for Mavericks and for the company and what we're trying to do. And I think that clients appreciate that. It's not just, oh, hey, this is Rob, and then next time you talk to me, I pass you over to an account manager that you never hear from me again. It's more of, I don't want to say how hand-holding like it's negative, but I like to bring a very transparent, very collaborative approach to where you're going to be involved in every aspect of the design process or the SEO strategy. So to make sure that everything's going exactly how you want. I mean, and we always phrase it to where we have clients that are super hands-on. They want to be involved in everything. Then we also have clients that are like the busy construction clients that don't really like to sit in front of the computer and kind of just let us run it, which is also great. So we have that ability to kind of adapt to either client. And yeah, like I said, I think it's the authentic and that collaborative approach that we have that clients really like. And I think they can see that.
So you mentioned before you gave yourself 90 days, 2.5 years ago. Talk to me about what growth looked like, because, it's like you said, you really started from the ground and built your way up. Talk to me a little bit about what that growth looked like for you.
That growth was crazy. So I've always been willing to start businesses and having little side things as far as what I'm actually focused on. So I've done everything, like I said, apparel, and I've tried to keep that. And it's hard for me to officially like shut that down. Always worked on that. And then I started a beard oil company, and I've always worked on that for a while. So I just had a really bad habit, but a habit of not focusing on one thing at a time. And obviously it's anybody who's done great things will say you got to focus on one thing at a time. And so that's what I did. And people that are close to me realize that, like, hey, if you were to focus on this one thing, I'm sure you'd be pretty dang good at it. And that growth and once I did that, it kind of skyrocketed. So once I learned that, and then kind of just the different, I guess, roles of the company and what to do and what kind of clients I wanted to target, that kind of helped me grow it and scale for this company. So we're still very lean. We get to be picky in who we take on as a client, which is nice. But as far as that growth, it's I've always been the kind of guy to say yes and figure it out later type of guy. So I've grown by like trial by fire type of thing, to where if someone asks me to do it, or client that I've been working with for a while asks me to do, I'll definitely figure out a way to and help them out. I'm very resourceful in that way. But as far as that growth goes, it's been crazy, and I'm lucky that when I first got started, my finances were my financial responsibility is pretty minimal. So I didn't have a massive home loan. I don't have 5 kids. I didn't have 3 vehicles to pay for. So I think it was I just took advantage of that small window that I had, and just didn't look back, or didn't, I guess, stop or look back, and just kept going. And then I'd look down and I'm like, oh crap, we did this much, or we helped these many clients this year. And at the end of the year, it's always nice. Because I never really look at sales or anything like that until I go to tax at the end of the season, and I'm like, oh wow, okay, cool, we actually did this much, which is awesome. So yeah, I just kept my head down and just, hate to be cliche, but just kept grinding with my company and the possibilities of this, because didn't really see like an end point, didn't really have like a set goal. So it's just more fun, and it's still fun to build this thing and build this company.
That's fantastic. And, to get a little more technical, I'm curious to pick your brain and kind of hear, when you are doing designs and, working with companies, are there different factors that you prioritize to not only deliver, a great looking product, but also effective results for your clients?
As far as the process and the approach. Yeah. So like I said, there's 2 different clients. So it all depends. I mean, we've also had those clients that they don't want to be involved, but the product that gets delivered, they don't like, and they couldn't tell us why. So that's kind of different. So we got to do our best in terms of that way. And I've definitely since then have structured better ways to extract that information that we need. But it's very front loaded. So we try to, I know everybody hates the questionnaires and everybody hates sitting down for an hour or whatever, but you definitely have to do that with these clients and with people, because it's you got to make them realize that it's their baby. It's not a cheap service. It's not a cheap thing. It's not, you're not just buying a pair of shoes. It's a business. It's a website. It's a digital window to your brand and to your business and what you're doing. So I think with thorough questionnaires, discovery calls, like I said, being very collaborative every step of the way. And if I were to show you my checklist of things I do for every service or everything we do for a client, it's kind of tedious, but every step of the way, I want to make sure, hey, before we go on to this section, is this okay? Before we go to this page, is that okay? Before we go into development, is this how you want it? And make sure we get enough feedback to where we'd be able to not get caught in, like scope creep kind of, to where it just keeps building on and there's 20 revisions for one page, things like that. So I think, like I said, being very collaborative and transparent and say, hey, we're going to do this for that. And then there's a lot from there, we do a lot of competitor research and industry research and see what they're doing and see who's doing it good and how we can do it better. And that's everything from like call to action buttons and nav bars and hero images and how the page is structured, different layouts and what the mobile viewpoints are. So there's a lot of things that people don't from the outside like really are aware of, but all those little things, I can go into different principles, but there's so many things that make up a great website that's not just pretty or good looking, but also converts. And like a roofing company does not care if your website can do 360s and spins and backflip, just wants to phone the ring, just wants inquiries. So that's one thing you kind of have to tailor. Whereas if you're going to do an art museum, that's a little different. So it really depends on how well you're willing to adapt to your client and to the brand and the industry. So that's been the fun part too. That's part of the reason why I never really wanted to niche down, because it's like, I don't want to just do construction forever, research forever, or trucking companies forever, or dentists. Like I want to hit them all. I want to try it all. Just trying to find one that I like and have success with it.
Yeah. Keep every day new and exciting. And,
Sure.
You got thinking when you were talking about, not hearing the person's voice and building out a web page for them. The website acts as a voice for the company. So, having a great client experience is so important. Talk to me a little bit about, the benefits that you have seen for your clients in having, a great design that really shows off the company's voice.
I think the way tone, copywriting is huge, of course. That all goes with tone and your brand identity. We have a trucking company that's very professional, so they need to be very buttoned up. So there's little things that we have so it's got to look more corporate, that website, and I guess the copy has to be a little bit more formal, to where we have a construction client on the coast that's a little bit more edgy and he's fun, and we like to make that website reflect that with bright images and different interactions and animations and things like that. So I think it's definitely a good website will reflect the brand and that identity. But yeah, I think that again, I've always a good, I guess, quote or a piece of advice I had early on is, do you want to grab a beer with this person? So I always like to kind of sit with the client or sit with this person and just break it down, just be like, I provide a service, you have a company, let's help each other out type of thing. And I know everybody's names. I know their birthdays, their kids' names, things like that. So it's never just like emails. I never talk to Rob. I talk to him once a year when I need to edit. I think I've built a lot of this on relationships and just back to being just a genuine good dude. And once you get close with a client, you naturally get this from that person. So you don't even have to, you realize like, he won't like to say this, or she won't ever write something that way. So I think naturally, as you're building that relationship, that you're able to cut some corners and not so much back and forth, and you really get a full feel for that brand and for that company.
Yeah. And I'm curious to pick your brain a little bit. In your experience, have there been common misconceptions that, people may think are, fast and true, which aren't necessarily accurate either, about SEO, about, copywriting on the site, or, anything in general?
My favorite one is that anybody can build a website, which is true. And there's a lot of, especially locally early on, companies would say, "Oh, I have a website, thanks," or we already have this or that, or I can get my cousin to do it or brother, son to do it. So it's, which is true. I can go to Google right now and get a free website, and it's just there. I guess that makes sense. You're on the web. You have a web page, but they're going to realize early on that it's not going to drive the traffic unless you're in a unique situation where you're an ice cream shop and you're the only one in your area within 20 miles. So you're naturally going to get that. So those are those rare situations where you have that area unlocked, but there's so much that goes into it. And that was obviously a lot of me learning early on. And back to my example before, there's websites that convert and there's websites that look good, and the great ones kind of mix them together. And so in terms of like the page structure, like I said before, the layout, how things are worded, and kind of having your web page or website kind of build out a story to where you have the pain points and how you solve them and what you can do for them and the benefits of working with your company. You want to make sure that you are able to convey that properly for those clients and for your audience, because if you're speaking to somebody about like snow on your roof, but you live in Florida, that doesn't make any sense. So you really want to make sure that and that was an extreme example, but you really want to make sure your audience knows that they come there for a reason, their question is going to be answered, or their user intent's behind that. And that's what kind of got us onto the SEO point with different keywords, and you're creating the right content, and your page structure is good, and just your website tells that story where you can have anybody in your office right now get a Wix account and make a website in an hour. But when it doesn't convert, then that's when you have to start realizing like there's a true professional service behind this, and there's experts that do this. And there's a reason why that there's a steal, because there's websites that look pretty and there's websites that convert.
I think that's fantastic. I think that's a good little blurb, to start to wrap up our show with. And as we start to wrap up, like I said, where can people go to learn more about Maverix Design?
So you can find us on our website. So maverixdesign.com. That's Mavericks with the X. You can find us on all those social platforms, maverix.design. Our personal page is at Rob Reich Jr. And so I'm across all platforms as well. But yeah, the website would be the best way to contact us.
Fantastic. Great. Well, Rob, like I said, as we start to wrap up, is there anything that you want to leave our listeners with? I think you left us on a good little note there, but if there's anything else that you want to leave our listeners with before we head out.
If you're thinking about it, don't be afraid to try it. Don't be afraid to try something new, try something different. I've had so many different businesses and so many different services that I tried. I just bought a drone a couple months ago and I've already started selling that service. So it's just a fun thing. So don't be afraid to try something. You're not going to be an expert. You're not on the first day. You're not going to be the best ever. That was one of my biggest things to swallow, is that I'm not going to be the best web designer in the world. I'm not going to be close to it. So just as long as I provide value to my clients and getting a lot of ROI for my clients and for these services, I think that's the main part, and just being a good dude.
Yeah, and doing right by your clients. I think that's fantastic. Sure. Rob, this has been a terrific conversation. I appreciate all your insight, the backstory behind Maverix Design. I think this is great. I really appreciate you being on Business Ninjas today.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Yeah, great to have you.